Okay, I'm going to go across to Ambika ji in just a moment. There's a bit of a problem with that audio line. But till then, let me get in a word from one of our guests. Jyotirma, if we can get you to talk about the issue of whether this mandate will inject any new vitality into the government.
Well, I'm not sure whether it would or it would not. I mean, if Pranab Mukherjee's press conference was anything to go by, all of us were gobsmacked for the first 5 minutes thinking he was talking about the CPM, at the end of which one heard him triumphantly announce that the Congress had decimated the BJP. Now, I mean, you know, I think I want to go back to not the Congress or the big picture. I mean, we've been discussing this since 7 in the morning. I think what Gurudas Dasgupta said is very precious. He talked about the arrogance of power. He talked about high-handedness. But he talked about something which was very important. He said the left talked at the people, but not talked to the people. I think that's, in a certain sense, the problem with all political parties in the country.
Okay.
With the Congress, with the BJP, with the CPM, everybody.
I want to go across at this time to Mr. Arun Jaitley, senior leader of the BJP, joining us on the show this evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Jaitley, for joining us. I want your sense on the national big picture that, according to you, emerges from the mandate that we've seen the people of India deliver. What, according to you, are the biggest takeaways from this result, sir?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway would be that people want performance. And therefore, people in most states, except Kerala, where there is a narrow verdict, have decided decisively. The reasons in each state would be different. So if you were to ask me, is there one big picture about what the message of this result is, I can theoretically say people want performance. They want results. But then each result is state-specific. And therefore, to confuse a state-specific result with a big national picture would be erroneous, because adjacent states have voted even in different directions.
Okay, we've been hearing from Congress leaders from Tamil Nadu who've been saying that the verdict in Tamil Nadu is nothing very alarming because it is cyclical. For 5 years you have the AIADMK, for 5 years you have the DMK. Do you think that is the case? Has the pendulum swung, or do you believe that this is an anti-corruption verdict that's been delivered by the people?
Well, I think the verdict in Tamil Nadu can't be just wished away as being a seesaw that one gets a term for 5 years and thereafter you are bound to rule. There is no rationale in politics that one must necessarily lose after 5 years. I think the two factors which have influenced the Tamil Nadu verdict is the huge anti-incumbency against the DMK front, and that anti-incumbency was influenced by very serious allegations of both corruption and family nepotism. Now, the two may be intertwined with each other, but the two can also be taken independently. They became two distinct reasons, and therefore there was no other reason which was coming to the rescue of the DMK front. The DMK could well boast of various social welfare measures, but even they could not save it from this anti-incumbency. So for a political seesaw is not the only reason. That may be a convenient explanation. There was a huge corruption issue, more than any other state in the country, and family nepotism, which has influenced that election.
Manishankar, do you want to respond to this? Because Mr. Jaitley says it's a convenient excuse or an explanation to say that the pendulum has swung, as it always does after every 5 years in Tamil Nadu. Surely the Congress must internalize this result and look at the role that corruption has played in the sweeping mandate that Jayalalitha has got.
I know that if I said yes to you, I'd please your little heart. But the fact of the matter is that in Assam, we've won an overwhelming victory. Are you suggesting that the Assamese are not concerned about corruption at the national level?
That's not the case. In Assam, corruption was maybe lesser than the level of corruption in Tamil Nadu.
There is no doubt at all that corruption charges in 2011 have played the same role which corruption charges in 1996 played, when Jayalalitha was trammed and lost her own seat. So corruption is an issue that comes up in every election. I campaigned in Assam, and there was a desperate attempt made to portray Tarun Gogoi as corrupt, as the government is corrupt, it didn't have this impact. So corruption is an issue, but please don't make it the only issue.
Okay.
There were many, many state-specific factors, and I think Gurdas Das Gupta's analysis, I'm amazed to be on the same side as him, but his analysis of what went wrong in Bengal, I think applies pari passu in Tamil Nadu, where the DMK cadres behave atrociously with the people, because they do talk at them and not talk with them. They do try to domineer over them and dominate over them. And this is exactly true of the ADMK, which is why I'm saying that as a Tamil politician, in a very selfish manner, I'm delighted the ADMK has won today, because I guarantee you that that's going to help me win in 3 years from now.
Okay, Sanjeev Srivastava has a question for Mr. Arun Jaitley.
Mr. Jaitley, good evening. Just a quick question. You know, while you're commenting on the big national picture and asking Congress to take some lessons from what the result is, don't you feel slightly concerned that as a principal opposition party, you are a complete outsider in these 4 states? You know, you describe yourself as a national party, but it has no footprint in this. You know, we have discussed 5 states. The BJP is virtually absent. So how do you explain your future plans, aspirations to come back to power with this kind of a situation on the ground, really?
Well, let's be very clear. It's no secret that you are mentioning or that I am accepting that in states like West Bengal, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, these 4 states, we are relatively a smaller party. We are not a part of any alliance, but this time we decided to contest all the seats in the hope that we will have a lot of active cadre. We'll add new people to our cadre. We'll probably increase our vote share, increase our presence in the state, and therefore to be in a position to have some impact on a future date. Now, these are not states where we've conventionally been strong, and therefore I have no hesitation in admitting it. Yes, we are not rank outsiders because we have a presence in those states, but we have failed to enter the assemblies in those states. But I'm sure when the vote percentages are counted, compared to the earlier occasion, we would have made at least a marginal improvement, if not a significant improvement.
Okay.
For us, the area of concern really was Assam, because Assam is a state where we hope to improve from our 10 seats last time. And I do feel our party has today considered the matter, and our first reaction is that the lack of opposition unity or the absence of it, in fact, created a situation where there was no credible alternative to the Congress. And therefore, it's not that corruption wasn't an issue in Assam. There was nobody as a credible opposition. You had different kinds of opposition splintered into 4 groups, and the Congress got a natural advantage of that.
Okay, the same question that we asked to Mr. Jaitley, I want to ask to Ms. Ambika Soni. Ms. Soni, what's the national big picture emerging from the Congress's perspective? What, according to you, are the biggest takeaways from this mandate?
Well, you know, don't confuse state assembly elections in 4 or 5 states to the national picture. The UPA too got a reinforced mandate in 2009 with an increased tally of seats, and we have only run 2 years of that mandate, 3 years more. The UPA alliance at the center is strong and is on track, unlike what you did ask me a little while earlier, whether we have not lost focus or whether we are not doing things. I refuse to accept any of that, because those are the perceptions sometimes created partially by media and partially when we are in election mode, and lots of things which normally would catch headlines we have to stop at that because of the model code of election conduct. So having said that, I think today we take pride in the fact that in a state which has had troubled politics for a very long time, the people of Assam have given an increased mandate to a Congress-led government. We are also a smaller part of the big change which has taken place in West Bengal, and we do take pride in the fact that Mamata Banerjee is a very esteemed alliance partner of the UPA too. Similarly, in Kerala, you talk of opposition, Mr. Jaitley talked of the lack of opposition unity for BJP not doing better, but in Kerala, there have been alliances, defined alliances, working very successfully for for a very long period of time. The vote margins have always been narrow, but I don't see any change in that in Kerala politics. Yes, Tamil Nadu has been a disappointment. There is no denying the fact. But the party will review the whole situation, and we will correct where we feel we have gone wrong, and start work afresh, correcting all the areas which need greater emphasis. I think the UPA has come out rather well after these 5 elections.
Okay, you're saying the UPA has come out rather well. For the moment, Ms. Ambika Soni, I'm going to leave it over there. We're slipping into a break. We've got Mr. Dinesh Trivedi with us from Town Hall in Kolkata. We've got Mr. Arun Jaitley. After a short break, Kapil Sibal, the Union Telecom Minister, will be joining us, and we'll be asking him about his take on Mandate 2011. Our coverage resumes on the other side of a very short break. Stay with us.
नया क्वालिटी वॉल सिलेक्शन ब्लैक करंट रेसिन्स और ब्लैक करंट के साथ जिन्हें ब्लैक करंट सॉस में परफेक्टली ब्लेंड किया गया है। वीकेंड्स बनाए स्पेशल।
Okaya tubular, life double, no trouble.
ये बिजली वाले घर का राज क्या है?
एनर्जी एफिशिएंट माइक्रोटेक, भारत के हर कोने में रखे आपका बिजली वाला घर।
माइक्रोटेक, आपका बिजली वाला घर।
Action Tessa, laminated wooden flooring. Get ready to be floored.
We understand that giving up smoking is hard. Introducing Nicorette, world's #1 smoking cessation brand. Doubles your chances to quit smoking.
पलट दो बारिश का असर। वेदरकोट ऑल गार्ड एक्सटीरियर पेंट, इसमें है सिलिकॉन जो दीवार पर पानी टिकने ना दे। आपका घर हमेशा चमकता रहे, फंगस फ्री और 100% रेन प्रूफ। बर्जर वेदरकोट ऑल गार्ड एक्सटीरियर पेंट विद सिलिकॉन, truly durable.
Now get a 4-year warranty and much more when you buy a Philips TV.
KSB submersible एवं मोनोब्लॉक पंप सेट्स जर्मन तंत्रज्ञान से परिपूर्ण। Tomorrow's fashion for today's woman. Profile Fashion Fabrics.
Mrs. Sinha keeps giving instructions to Mr. Sinha, who is just not listening. I was firing through.
Through Sonakshi. Firing at me through Sonakshi.
Have you had to make a lot of sacrifices for the first superstar, and now who's going to be the second superstar?
First sacrifice, the day she married me, she thinks the greatest sacrifice of her life.
Which it is. Which it is.
On the Couch with Coel. Saturday 7:30, Sunday 12:30. Only on Headlines Today.
On the Couch with Coel. Brought to you by OA 104.8 FM. Sabse Filmi.
Global. It's not something you just add to your name. It's something that comes rising above every challenge, every single time. Just like Binani Cement, India's trusted global cement brand. Binani Cement, for generations to come.
Hi, Ben. Thank you.
घूमो दुनिया बेफिक्र। American Tourister, मजबूत international luggage.
BSc degree in multimedia and animation. Join Framebox. Admissions open.
It's all in the mind.
Get guaranteed returns from MetLife. Peace of mind, guaranteed.
ये है लैपटॉप विनिंग डांस और भी बहुत सारे डांस दिखेंगे फ्यूचर ग्रुप के द ग्रेट इंडियन शॉपिंग फेस्टिवल में 16 अप्रैल से 15 मई तक हर खरीदार है जीत का हकदार 15 करोड़ के 5 लाख इनाम तो हर कोई कुछ न कुछ जीतेगा और खुशी से झूमेगा।
मेरी पसंद वो नहीं होगा जो करोड़ों कमाएगा, मेरी पसंद वो होगा जो करोड़ों का दिल जीतेगा। वाह, क्या मैं इतनी खूबसूरत हूँ?
मेरी टेम्पररी स्टाइल की जिंदगी की परमानेंट मेंबर बनोगी?
कलाकार सिर्फ अपने सपनों की दुनिया में जीता है, हवा में महल बनाता है, असलियत में 2 वक्त की रोटी नहीं मिलती उसे।
पापा, मेरा फ्रेंड विक्की कहता है कि गर्मियों में अंडे नहीं खाते।
अच्छा, मैंने तो नहीं सुना, मेरे पापा से पूछ लो।
ओ यार, मैंने भी नहीं सुना। तू एक काम कर, मेरे पापा से पूछ ले।
बड़े दादाजी, मेरा फ्रेंड विक्की कहता है।
क्या कहता है?
गर्मियों में अंडे नहीं खाते।
गलत बात, बोलो उसको। सर्दी हो या गर्मी,
संडे हो या मंडे, रोज खाओ अंडे अंडे।
हे टोरेडो, तुम्हें गिरफ्तार किया जाता है।
लगता नहीं मैं गिरफ्तार हुआ हूँ।
ये लोग कुछ अपने पुराने दोस्त ले आए हैं।
ब्राजील की सारी पुलिस अब तुम्हारे पीछे है।
ये पागलपन है।
ये 1 लाख करोड़ का मामला है। कभी न कभी हम सलाखों के पीछे जरूर होंगे, पर आज नहीं।
रफ्तार का जुनून।
सिम्फनी आइस क्यूब, फैन ब्लेड वाला पहला पर्सनल कूलर। तो कभी फैन कभी कूलर, साल भर।
कौवा चला हंस की चाल,
किसी ने टिफिन बॉक्स खोला है? मुझे बटाटे वड़े की खुशबू आ रही है।
ये डब्बा
Turn on a greener planet with General Air Conditioners.
Welcome back to this Headlines Today special presentation. We've got Mr. Arun Jaitley, we've got Mr. Dinesh Trivedi, and now also joining us is Telecom Minister Kapil Sibal. And Krishna Anand has a question straight up for Mr. Sibal.
Mr. Sibal, 2G spectrum, you said zero loss. The people of Tamil Nadu seem to have disagreed with you. Now, would you react? Zero loss or something else?
Well, I thought that...
Who was right, you or the people of Tamil Nadu?
I thought we would start this dialogue with a more thoughtful question. I don't think that that the 2G spectrum issue had any impact, say, in Assam, had any impact in West Bengal, had any impact in Kerala. All these elections are based on state issues, and to what extent 2G had an impact on the state-specific issue in Tamil Nadu is something that will be decided after analysis during course of time. But I don't think that zero loss is something that the Tamil Nadu voter was voting on when he voted in this election. But yes, there are some general issues which were certainly in the minds of the voters.
We've been hearing from Congress spokespersons since the morning, and we've got Mr. Jaitley who said it was a major issue. Others in the opposition believe it was a major issue. Do you, like other Congress leaders, believe that this was a cyclical verdict, that after 5 years everybody in Tamil Nadu gets booted out? That's what happened with the DMK? Or are you prepared to concede that the corruption, the rampant corruption in Tamil Nadu played a key role in delivering this big thumping mandate for Jayalalitha?
Well, I think corruption is an issue in every election. Corruption was an issue, a different kind of corruption in West Bengal. Corruption was also an issue in some other elections. So corruption is always an issue at the individual level, at the state level. But
corruption is only one of a complex of issues that go into a vote when a voter goes out to vote, because he knows his MLA, he knows what the MLA stands for, he knows what the MLA is doing in the constituency, and there are various facets of the MLA that he's voting on, and then he's voting on the state party and how the state party has delivered or not delivered. There are issues of electricity, there were other issues. So I don't think that you can reduce this election to just one issue. Yes, corruption must have been an issue in the minds of people, but that's not the only issue.
Okay, Shwapan Das Gupta has a question for you. Shwapan.
Yeah, Mr. Sibal, I refer to Mr. Pranab Mukherjee's press conference earlier this afternoon, where he once again raised the issue of a concerted policy of destabilization, which the opposition has been undertaking, in his view. Do you think the Congress, in its denial, is regressing to some sort of a siege mentality?
No, the fact of the matter is what Pranab Mukherjee said was absolutely right. I think the manner in which the opposition has behaved in the central government is something that is unknown to democratic institutions anywhere in the world. And the use of institutions on the basis of which attacks have been made of the ruling UPA is again unheard of. I mean, chairmen of institutions are going around the country giving press conferences, basing their press conferences on certain documents which have not been approved by anybody. Sessions of parliament have not been allowed to function. The kind of language used in the course of political discourse has been very, very unfortunate. I think Pranab Mukherjee is absolutely right, and there are several forces which have joined together.
The leader of the opposition, Mr. Arun Jaitley, with us.
The act is supplementary, but Mr. Mukherjee linked it up to the state assembly election verdicts. So do you think that the state assembly verdicts have a direct bearing on national politics, as Mr. Mukherjee assumed?
Well, I don't know what Mr. Mukherjee said because I don't know the nuances of his statement, so I really cannot comment on that. But my response to your question is I've already given that response.
Mr. Jaitley, Kapil Sibal accusing the opposition of behaving most irresponsibly and creating this perception that the government is dysfunctional by misusing instruments of our democracy. Mr. Jaitley.
Well, I think I can reply in the same tone, but let's be a little logical. Was the opposition's demand that the 2G deal be scrapped unjustified? You now have institutions within the constitutional framework who are either suggesting it or there is a discussion going on that issue. For 3 years, nothing was done. It was not even honestly investigated till such time that the parliamentary stalemate took place. Had the stalemate in parliament not taken place, Mr. Raja probably would not have been in jail, he would have been a minister today. The court raised the issue, and it's only then that the CBI became functional. So all these institutions, including the CBI, including the investigative wings of the government in the Enforcement Directorate, they had almost fallen off to sleep. These institutions were being misused. It's only when the opposition protest started, and we did raise it effectively. Congress may feel that this raising it effectively using various instruments is an act of destabilization. I think it was a legitimate exercise of political discourse. And therefore, all this has resulted in the truth coming out. And now you are having people who are being held accountable for various acts of corruption.
Okay,
This obviously has also impacted the election in Tamil Nadu.
Paranjoy Guatakurta has a question for Mr. Sibal. Paranjoy.
You know, I'm a little puzzled by what Mr. Kapil Sibal is saying. You know, at one level he says corruption is an issue, but then he also says the 2G was not an issue in West Bengal, in Kerala. Then, I mean, was the 2G an issue mainly because Mr. Raja happens to be in jail and he's from DMK? Does it have something to do with the fact that Ms. Kanimoi also belongs to the DMK and she's been one of the persons charged by the CBI? So the whole issue is corruption, nepotism. I mean, if these are indeed issues, then where does Mr. Kapil Sibal's zero loss theory come in? You know, if indeed there was no loss to the exchequer on account of the way Mr. Raja allocated spectrum, then why did the DMK lose in the way it did?
Mr. Sibal.
Well, first of all, I think Thakurda's question is a bit confused because zero loss has nothing to do with corruption, incidentally. Because, and I've explained this time and again, and if Mr. Thakurdas chooses to read my statement, he would have understood it a little better. But since he hasn't understood it, let me repeat it on TV. The policy at that point in time of the government of India was first come, first serve. Now, if you have a first come, first serve policy, you can't have an auction, right? And the estimates of the CAG were based on the fact that in the event there was an auction, this is what the revenue, this is the revenue gain that the government would have got, right? It is different. So zero loss theory is different from corruption. Nobody ever said that if these spectrum was not put in auction, it would not have earned revenue. Nobody ever said that. In fact, no amount of spectrum was ever sold or ever paid for right from 2001. No administration ever paid for spectrum. No private player ever paid from spectrum, because there was a first come, first serve policy. And that did not allow auction. And if it didn't allow auction, there was no question of loss. So Mr. Thakurdas should try and understand that instead of asking questions despite explanations given from time to time. That is different from the issue of corruption. There is now a CBI inquiry. This is a government that has in fact accepted the fact that yes, wherever somebody has done wrong, no matter whosoever high he may be, we'll proceed against him. And as far as Mr. Jaitley is concerned, let me just remind him, when the question of Tehelka came up, and they were then in government, and we tried to stall Parliament, it is his statement, and I told him about it, which said, this is no way to function as an opposition. You must have a dialogue, you must have a debate, you can't stop the functioning of Parliament. That's exactly what he did when the 2G issue came up. We were ready for a debate, we are ready for an inquiry, we are ready for an investigation. That's already happening, and the CBI is under the direction of the Supreme Court investigating in all this. I don't know why these questions are being asked. It is certainly an issue which is not reflected in the state results throughout the country, other than some interpretation on Tamil Nadu. And remember, way back in 2006, it was DMK who got 163 seats. Is it?
Okay, we've heard from two senior leaders in the Congress government, from Mr. Sibal and from Ambika Soni, both of whom believe that there is nothing wrong with the way the central government is going at this time. I want to go across to Dinesh Trivedi. As a minister in the central government, now that you've got this big mandate in Bengal, Mr. Trivedi, are you prepared to accept that this government isn't moving at the speed at which it should, and it needs a mid-course correction, and this mandate provides that opportunity? Or do you, like Ms. Soni and Mr. Sibal, believe that everything is hunky-dory and there's nothing the government needs to worry about?
You know, Rahul, course correction is a continuous process. I don't think so any government can say that, yes, we have arrived and that's it. Improvement is a thing which is an ongoing thing. What perhaps we all collectively need, I'm not talking about UPA 2, I'm just talking in general as far as governance is concerned, is use of more technology.
No, let me ask you a direct question. Let me ask you a direct question, Mr. Trivedi. Do you believe this government is in need of course correction? You've made it very generic, saying all governments need course correction. Do you believe there's something seriously wrong with this government at this time, and it needs a new dose of vitality?
This government is functioning absolutely perfectly. There is an accountability of the Parliament, of the people. The various agencies which are independent, they are functioning as independent as they should. The process of democracy is always slow. All I was trying to suggest is to hasten the process. We need to have more use of technology. Otherwise, I feel this government is functioning just very well with a Prime Minister that stature of Dr. Manmohan Singh. You couldn't have asked for more. And the UPA chairperson Sonia Gandhi, I think collectively everybody is doing very well, and the allies like Mamata Banerjee is also chipping in her best.
All right, Mr. Trivedi, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We know you need to go. Heartiest congratulations once again, and thank you very much for joining us. But I want to go across to Mr. Jaitley on the point that is being made about whether the government is doing enough to course correct, because the point that Ms. Soni made and other Congress people have made, Mr. Jaitley, is that yes, there were some problems. Those issues are being looked at, and see what this government has done in terms of sending the big and the mighty and the powerful to jail. That shows that this government understands the need for course correction and is course correcting, which is different from what the BJP is doing in the example of Mr. Yedurappa, where they're saying that you're not prepared to accept that there's a problem. That's the allegation that the Congress leaders are leveling against the BJP. Mr. Jaitley.
Well, let me first of all answer this question and make a comment on what Mr. Sibal has said. I think in Tamil Nadu, corruption was the big issue. In Kerala, also corruption was a big issue. The fact that the left was expected to be routed, but it became a narrow verdict because the chief minister in Kerala, that's the outgoing chief minister, had an image of crusading against corruption, and therefore issues like the ice cream parlor scandal, issues like the Balakrishna Pillai scandal, these were all extensively debated amongst the very literate electorate in Kerala, and therefore it became an issue. Corruption, I found during extensive campaign in Assam, was also an issue, but unfortunately we could not get an advantage out of it because the opposition was very badly splintered and divided. Now, as far as the course correction is concerned, I don't think the Congress can really take much credit for sending people to jail. They tried to save those people. I think it's an involuntary act as far as the central government is concerned. They tried to help those people, but then the whole system came on them like a ton of bricks. You had the media, you had parliament, you had the judiciary, and finally even the CBI had to be under the supervision of the Supreme Court, take actions which I'm not so sure are exactly voluntary.
Okay, Paranjoy has another question for Mr. Sibal.
You know, I wanted to know from Mr. Sibal what, according to him, are the reasons why the Congress and the DMK performed as poorly as it did in Tamil Nadu. What, according to him, were the reasons?
Mr. Sibal.
I mean, you know, in the past, you know, it's not just a simple seesaw situation.